Welcome everyone to this new episode of the Privacy Rules Privacy Espresso series, a series where we delve into the latest news on privacy, data protection, and cybersecurity together with the members of the Privacy Rules Alliance and sometimes with some guest speakers. Together with me today, I have a member of the Alliance, which is Volker Wodianka from the law firm Wodianka Privacy Legal. Volker is an expert in the sector dealing with matters related not just to data privacy and cybersecurity, but also AI, which is the topic of today, Volker. So first of all, Volker, thanks a lot for being with us.
Yeah, thank you, Alessandro. Nice to meet you.
So as I was saying, the topic of today is the AI topic, and in particular the AI Act, which, as we know, is rapidly coming into full effect. And of course, is having a lot of implications for business at the worldwide level that concerns, compliance strategies as well as regulatory frameworks to look and check to make sure that, everything is in line with the requirements of different countries. So to help our audience understanding, how to move towards this difficult framework and structure, I wanted to have you with me today in order to have a very practical conversation on what would an expert like you based in the EU do in order to face this situation. So my first question to you for our audience would be, which are the immediate compliance steps that should be taken by companies? What should companies prioritize now, in particular, giving also, the AI Act and the other regulations as well?
Yeah, thank you. Companies, of course, see a tremendous influence of AI now to their business and look for opportunities how to make best of AI systems. From the practical and really day-to-day business point of view, we work in several companies as external DPOs and also, which is also a new role, like as AI officers. That we see, first of all, it's all about information, knowing your systems, knowing where's your data flowing. AI systems usually are cloud systems, so you have a lot of topics of third country data transfers when you use AI. And of course, there's, as we're going to speak also about a high overlap of GDPR and AI. Most companies that we are in touch with start with, of course, knowledge. So they train their colleagues. They also understood quite early that there's the need for competence for AI literacy trainings. Article 4 of the AI Act also requires sufficient knowledge and competence when you use AI. So that's what most companies started with, like with joining with experts also from the technical part to understand AI better. From the, let's say, organizational point of view, most companies implemented AI policies. So they, of course, communicate towards their employees do's and don'ts. They communicate also, of course, a commitment on AI, because that's super important at the moment, that employees don't use their private accounts or whatever and play around with AI, with company data. So that's why it's, I think, very important to have an approach and communication into the company saying, yes, we believe AI is somehow relevant for us and we figure out how to best use it. So yeah, and thirdly, very practical, we advise, for instance, on DPIAs now in our external DPO roles, so support risk assessments on systems like Copilot or ChatGPT.
Perfect. That sounds great, and thanks a lot for those, practical steps and indication that are indeed very, very useful. Having a good training, making policies that are in line with your company activities, and as well as DPIAs. I have another question, which is a pretty common one, which is the interoperability between the AI Act and other existing privacy laws. In particular, of course, with a focus on the previous very important regulation we had in the EU, that was GDPR. So how do you approach that?
Of course, again, it's a regulation, so it applies in all European countries. Immediately, we saw first regulations in force saying there are certain AI systems that you are not allowed to use, so forbidden systems. This is already in force. Nevertheless, including Germany, where I am based in Hamburg, actually, the authority organization is not yet completely there. So there are already regulations that apply, but there's not really a high pressure from the authorities to audit that. When it comes to documentation or saying or to sum it up, authorities, we have a trend that shows that the existing data protection authorities will come into play when it comes to AI supervision and audit. So most probably also the privacy authorities will have responsibilities on AI as well. Why is that? Because also on the documentation side, client side, you have a high overlap of requirements to certain levels of AI systems on certain risks, which are quite similar to what we know from GDPR. So there's some kind of, we know from ROPA, GDPR, the Register of Processing Activities, you must also have like an overview on our AI systems. When it comes to incident response, no data breach, when something goes wrong in the AI world, you must also react in certain time frames and maybe notify the competent authority. So transparency information is something that we know from GDPR, which is also a requirement in the AI Act, as well as risk assessment. So there's a whole lot of documentation and requirements on how to organize a new environment, which also shows an overlap in people that work in this area. That's why we also started now with data protection officer work, now work as AI officers, and can pretty much align all these duties in our team. And also when you look into the companies, they also develop AI organizations with an AI officer, with AI coordinators that better understand the requirements on the documentation side and also on the response side, for instance, when it comes to registration or to notification of incidents. Yeah.
That's perfect. Indeed, what I'm understanding is that also the type of activities that are required between the frameworks are very similar. So it makes total sense to have, the same people handling them to act in a more efficient way and avoid, duplicating activities that could have been run together at once. So it's also about efficiency here, or having someone that already has a good knowledge on how you deal with your data within the company, and when you want to implement the AI, knows how to, guide you through the right steps. My last question for you, Volker, expands more to the, let's say, extra EU or international level. We are witnessing new AI regulation, popping up from several countries, which do you believe that this is out of an influence of the AI Act, and how would you approach this? Meaning, it's something that you are monitoring because you have clients that, have multi-jurisdictional activities. Yeah. So, it's something you are, let's say, afraid or you need to keep control over. How are you dealing with this?
No, of course, we as advisors and part of the network are pretty much in this topic on a daily basis. GDPR is international. You have extraterritorial effects and scope. This is also the case for AI. So even if you're outside of the EU, you might be affected and must comply with the AI Act. So that's, I think, the most important reason why you should look also at the AI Act when you're outside of the EU. When it comes to the question, what laws do we have around the world? Of course, EU is quite early. There was Peru and China before the EU with AI laws. But the question is the US also participating? The last news that we heard is that it's still possible. It's not the case that federal states will not have AI laws. It's possible, but at the moment we see more the idea of self-regulation and market regulation. In the US, on the opposite, the EU is quite heavily strict and regulated by law. So my guess is that there will be also regulation around the world, because that's also a belief that we have in the EU, that regulation also comes with security. There are large investments that companies must somehow secure, and without a framework and only the market, my belief is that it would hinder investment rather than support the idea of investment in AI. And it must be the case that companies invest in these systems and need, security and trust in a market. And I think a regulated market has more trust.
Yeah, definitely. And you touched a great point, which is, one of the reasons why the Privacy Rules Alliance exists, meaning combining together experts with different type of backgrounds, not just lawyers, but also cybersecurity experts, as well as crisis communication experts, because there is a constant overlapping between, different frameworks. We were speaking about AI, but we are already open to pure data protection laws and to security and cybersecurity laws immediately. So we already see how much those three sectors are connected together, and how much experts like you need to have an understanding of all of them in order to provide a better service and to secure that the company are in the right path. So Volker, thanks a lot for this exchange, for explaining us the approach and sharing a bit of your experience together with us and our audience. I would like to thank you and the audience for being with us today, and I look forward to meeting you all to the next Privacy Espresso episode.